Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Osmompreneur, the Women's Business School and Women Changing the World Press. Before we begin today, I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the Mamu people of North Queensland. And I'd like to pay my respects to elders and traditional owners right across Australia and the Torres Strait. Well, today we are celebrating the launch of our new book, Ignite. This book's been written by 24 incredible women from right across Australia, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to some of those authors today to hear a bit more about their story. So I'd love to welcome our first guest today, Melissa Pierre. Please join me on stage, Melissa.
Hi, Peace.
Hi, Melissa. It's wonderful to have you here. So
Thank you.
For people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Awesome. Okay, my name is Melissa Pierre, and I am the founder and director of Care Relief. We are an NDIS registered. Sorry, they just happen to go past us when I start talking. We're a registered disability agency. We look after everybody from teens to all the way up to about age 65. And just the whole process with NDIS and disability, it can be a bit of a struggle. So I had my personal story, and through our journey, we just saw a lot of gaps in the industry, and that's how we formed our business, basically just trying to solve some problems, not only for us, but then we found a lot of other families experiencing the same struggles, especially over COVID with their family members and things like that. And yeah, that's pretty much our journey.
Yeah, wonderful. So, Melissa, you've written a chapter in our new book, Ignite, and your chapter is called What's My Idea and How Do I Start a Business? So I'd love to hear a bit more from you about this. So could you tell us about your chapter?
Yeah, the chapter was really nerve-wracking for me, actually. In my chapter, I do talk a little bit about my dyslexia and how I struggle with writing and setting up a business and all the things that I really was very passionate when I was young. I knew I couldn't work for only one person for the rest of my life, like most of the people in my family. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just knew it wasn't for me, a very young age, actually. And yeah, so with not finishing school and having dyslexia, I always found it a challenge. So my chapter is mainly focusing about the idea and how to start up, because I feel this is why a lot of people don't start a business. So yeah, the book Ignite, that's what it ignited in me. It was just like remembering how I first started in business. I was lucky enough to start a business quite young because, again, I was a bit fearless. So the chapter for me is basically just how do you start? You've got an idea. What do you do? This is where I have succeeded in life, and it doesn't matter if you've got dyslexia or any other disability or any other concerns or people telling you that you can't do it. This for me is what my chapter was about, just to tell everyone that it doesn't matter, just what's your idea, let's do it, let's see what you can do, and these are the steps to kind of do it.
Yeah, I love that, and congratulations on your chapter. You know, for someone with dyslexia to have now be a published author is amazing. And yeah, I know it was a big achievement for you.
It's been massive, Piece. I can't tell you how much of it was challenging. Don't get me wrong, it really took me out of my comfort zone. I've got a fair bit of confidence. I've been in sales and marketing since I was young. I was lucky enough to fall into it. But talking about writing, and even like when I text people, I'm always scared because it's always wrong. I always mix the letters around, or mix the words around. But yeah, writing this chapter for me, I'm really thankful for the opportunity, but also how much encouragement everyone gave me for this, which including you and all the authors involved. It was such a good experience for me.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And yeah. And I think, you know, you talk about the challenges with writing your chapter, but when it comes to business, there are so many challenges that we have to overcome as well along the way. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So what I found when I was young was yeah, I was a female in Sydney, and very, very. And when I say young, I wanted to start a business at like 16. So that wasn't traditional back then. It was, you needed to write a business plan, you need to go to the bank and talk about it, and you don't even know whether this was going to, happen or not, or if it was a good idea. They didn't teach any of this, how to start a business in school or anything like that. So I just went out and did it. I'm one of those people, if you tell me that you can't, I'm just like, okay, go and see. So that's what happened. So I've used my chapter on just the steps on how to start a business. And this is going on the 30 plus years I've experienced. And I've been lucky enough to actually fall into this space. I've worked with a lot of big agencies. I've worked with a lot of startups. I got good and confident very quickly. So just understanding the steps on how to start. So you've got an idea. Where do you go from that? Test the market and then launch. That's pretty much the summary of my steps, just going through it. And that's just using all the experience and all the sales trainings I ended up falling into as well. And that's what got me the confidence to have this beautiful business that I have today. I've used all of those strategies, and I feel that is why we have such a fast growing business that's just skyrocketing a bit further than what I can handle. That's another challenge.
Yes, I think, a slow start is really difficult, but high growth and doing really well is difficult to manage as well.
Yeah, it is. It has its own challenges. So yeah, my chapter just slows it down a little bit. It's kind of like a bit of a checklist as well. So you can use it to really see if your idea is worth investing even more time and more energy to skyrocket the same way.
Yeah, I love that. And everyone has ideas, but not everybody has the courage to act on them. So I love that your chapter gives people the inspiration to try out their idea, but also the solid steps that they should be taking in making that idea come to life.
I hope so. That's my aim. It's just to really just give that power back to anyone that's a bit scared. There's challenges in life. That's normal. It's just, there's some things that we can control. There's some things that we can test and have a look. And I hope it does make them into bite-sized chunks that they can just go out there and do it.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Melissa. It's been wonderful chatting with you. And I hope everybody grabs a copy of Ignite and has a read of Melissa's chapter, especially if you have a big idea and you're wanting to embark on that journey of getting it going. So thank you so much, Melissa. It's been wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you, Peace. You too. Thank you.
Well, now I'd like to welcome our next guest to the stage, Jamie Abbott. Please join me here, Jamie.
Hey, Peace, how are you?
Oh, I'm really good, Jamie. It's wonderful to have you here. So for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it's great to be here. I'm so excited to be a part of this book launch and to be part of the book itself. So I have spent over 20 years in the media. I've been in media, politics, the military. I started as a journalist, TV and radio, before I joined the Air Force. And I've been in the military now for about 16 years as an Air Force reservist doing public affairs. I've also run as a politician for all three levels of government. So federal, state, and local government in New South Wales. And I was elected as a councillor for 4.5 years in Port Stephens, where I live. And I've had lots of experience doing public speaking, whether it be in front of the camera or behind the camera. I've got my own PR and public speaking agency. And so having made so many mistakes on stage in front of national audiences, I've kind of bottled up all of those lessons learned. And in my company, I teach people how to master their own public speaking skills, how to get their message across, what not to do. As well, having been there, done that, made all those mistakes. And specifically in the last 12 months, I've set up a paid to speak course where I teach entrepreneurs how to become highly paid speakers. And that's what I pretty much do now as an online digital entrepreneur. I've also got a monthly PR club membership, which is for time poor business owners who are looking to increase their exposure and promote their business.
Oh, it's amazing. Quite an impressive resume you have there, Jamie. And Jamie, your chapter chapter was all about public speaking. And I found it really interesting in your opening paragraph that you talked about that some people hate public speaking, and sometimes you do as well. But the results that you get from public speaking make it so worthwhile and something that we should all embrace, especially as entrepreneurs. Can you tell us a bit about that, about why we should be embracing public speaking and not hiding away from it?
Well, that's so true. I think most people do hate public speaking, whether you're the center of attention presenting in your workplace, or you're up on stage trying to sell an idea, or perhaps your service. Most of us don't enjoy that experience. And as you said, I don't enjoy it all the time either, but I have seen an incredible result come from public speaking, whether it be scoring a new client, or maybe scoring a new job, or selling a product, selling yourself, selling a service. It's certainly, getting paid to share ideas on stage. Public speaking is all about he or she who presents their point of view in the best way wins. And so that's why I'm really passionate, because I work with people who are incredibly good at what they do, but they struggle to communicate that to their clients, or perhaps to stakeholders they're working with. And it's a real shame. And then the other way, I've seen people who really have no idea what they're doing. I've worked alongside politicians, for example, who can walk into a meeting, have no idea what is going on. They've got no preparation. They're just winging it. And because they can communicate really well, people are just convinced, and they win people over. And so that's why I'm really, really passionate about teaching people how to master their message. Quite often people have too much information up here, and they really struggle to just get to A, B, and C, the top 3 takeaway messages that your audience wants you to know. And so as a public speaking coach, my job is to really help you master those top 3 messages. And to do that, we sort of go through and ask yourself, what do you want your audience to think, feel, or do? What are you trying to get them to achieve? And therefore, what are some of the key words and phrases we need to say to achieve that aim? And once you learn and once you practice, it's a lot easier than what you might think.
Oh, that's great. I love that tip as well. Like, if you can identify those top 3 key messages that you want to get across, then you don't have to worry about all of the other information that's in your brain as well. That's awesome.
So true.
Yeah. So you also talked about the importance of leveraging media. Can you tell us a bit more about that? It's something you've got so much experience in as being a journalist for all that time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm really passionate about this because people have great stories to share, but often they get so bogged down in the details, and they're trying to put out a media release or trying to pitch to the media. And there's a really great story for them to share, but they're not presenting their pitch in the best way. And so that's why I created this PR club membership that I've got now. And that's why I've spent the last 10 years as a PR consultant, to help people really engage in storytelling, because that's what the media and journalists and audiences want. They want stories, and they want to be entertained. And so many people have those stories in their head. It's the same as whether you're up on stage as a speaker or whether you're putting out a press release. They're just some simple, fundamental things that you need, such as the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Really mastering those messages and thinking, what does my audience want to know? And it's a bit of a skill. And having been a journalist, I used to see so many people struggle, whether it be when they sent me a press release, a media release, we call them these days, or whether they were on camera trying to convey their message in an interview. I saw them really struggle just to do what I thought was so easy, and just tell me A, B, and C. Tell me what the audience needs to know or wants to know. And so now I really take great delight in showing people how to cut through all the nonsense and just put your message out there, and to make it in an interesting and educating and inspiring way. And once you learn how to do that, the world's your oyster, because I feel like so much of PR and speaking is based around storytelling and entertaining, and the results for your business can be quite phenomenal.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that's wonderful. There is so many benefits to leveraging the media and getting your story out to a message through those platforms. Well, thank you so much, Jamie. Your chapter in here is amazing. It's got all those tips on how to master your message, and you've really put together a great framework for people to follow to keep it simple and effective and get that message out there. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Peace. I'm really excited to be a part of it and can't wait for the book launches this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, Jamie.
Bye.
I'd now like to welcome our next guest to the stage. Donna, please join me.
Hi, Peace. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to see you, Donna. So, Donna, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
I do. My elevator pitch, as we like to talk about it. So my business is called Bub to Sleep. I founded and I'm the director, and I founded it 6 years ago from the back of life experience. So it, of course, is what it sounds like. I help families get their babies to sleep well from newborn to 7 years of age. I'm really passionate about that. It's very nurturing. It's very supportive. There's a lot of information out there that's really overwhelming for families and for mothers these days, and everyone's just completely confused around sleep. So my passion and my purpose is to get our families sleeping beautifully, because all babies can master the miracle of sleep, but that's got lost somewhere out there, that it's not something that they can do. So I'm really passionate about getting that out, about sleep. But what I've ended up creating sort of organically, I suppose, is that more of a nurturing parenting space. So I have Sleep, that is my passion and my business, but I also have a Parenting Collective podcast and a membership space. So people and families, and particularly mothers, have a really safe, non-judgmental community to be able to talk about what's happening, because families, and particularly, again, mums, aren't talking about what's really happening. And so I love being really authentic, sharing my stories to make everyone feel like, oh, this is the norm. So my backstory with that is, again, I touched a little bit on it in my chapter, is I have 3 children, 3 daughters, and they're 17, 15 and 11. And through the journey of being a mother, they have been diagnosed with ADD. And so my journey has been, that's what I've got. And I have struggled with it my whole life. And it has all been very much internal. So it's a lot of anxiety and in and out of depression, but no one knew. And the reason I shared that story is because I felt so different, and it might have come across like I was doing okay, but I wasn't. And so being able to start a business with really being really hard on yourself when you've got something like a neurodiverse brain, but being able to do it. So having the passion and knowing that if you've got something in your heart that you want to do, go and do it. So that's why I share all of that story about parenthood, trying to run a business, the challenges with that too, but also having ADD, which is my things.
Yeah, so yeah, I loved reading your chapter, Donna, and I know that so many women out there who read this book are really going to resonate with your story. But what I loved the most is when you talked about your ADD is a superpower.
Yeah, it is. And my point, it makes me, it makes me so emotional, because it's been such a journey, and no one knew, not even my husband. No one. I just kept everything to myself. And my burnout, my chapter is burnout to business, and meaning you can still have burnout in business for sure, but I was burning out being a stay-at-home mum because of all of this stuff that was going in my mind. And I think if I share my stories, because a few years ago, I was still ashamed, like super ashamed, no one knew. So now I want to share my story, because this is what you can create. You can create this incredible platform to help other people. And for me, it still comes back to supporting women and supporting mums, and I just love it. But I still find it challenging at times, because it is my superpower and it's absolutely made me the entrepreneur that I am, but it also, on the flip side, can be challenging. And to be kind to yourself when you're having those tough times, and understanding that that's actually okay. And the biggest thing that's been happening now with ADD has been talked about a lot, and so on the flip side of that, now we're sort of getting talked about that everyone's got it, and sort of bagging people, like not bagging, but, you know, talking about older women getting diagnosed. Is it really true? And it is true. So then we've been hiding it for so long, and now we've got to try and defend ourselves. So that's why I'm really very passionate about talking about it to women. To if someone reads that, to go, oh, I've got this idea, and I do find it hard, that reach out. I love sharing my story. So
yeah, I love that. Yeah, and there is so much power in sharing your story, in reframing the narrative as well, rewriting the narrative, so that you know you've taken your power back in what's happened in your journey. And yeah, it's so inspiring. So your chapter's called Burnout to Business. Can you tell us about your chapter?
Yeah, so that goes back to the ADD again. So my burnouts were very internal. So, you know, I remember at one time I just had burnt myself out, and I wasn't working. I was a stay-at-home mum. And so I was doing that to myself, not deliberately, being a stay-at-home mum. And so I remember going to the doctor one time, and I said to my husband, I think I need medication. And he was like, what? So I thought to myself, wow, I'm hiding that so much. So why I say that is, you can live a life and stay at home and burn out all the time. Whereas when you've got a business, yes, you can definitely burn out, but you've got purpose, and being able to be someone who probably burns himself out more than others, that you can still actually create a business, and an amazing business. Like, you know, yeah, well, I'm proud of myself with what I've created, but that talking about burnout too, not giving up, you know, like any situation in life, you can burn yourself out, but having that sort of personality, but then creating a business has been one of the most incredible achievements of my life. So not giving up when you're someone who might burn out a bit. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah, amazing. You're such an inspiration, and your chapter is absolutely incredible. I'd love people to grab a copy and read Donna's story. She shares about her burnout and motherhood and her ADD journey and her incredible business that she has today. So yeah, congratulations, Donna.
Thank you,
and
Peace. Thank you
for being here.
Thank you so much. See you later.
Thank you. Okay, I'd now like to welcome our next guest to the stage. Sonia, please join me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really nervous, so bear with me. Yeah, it's been amazing hearing everybody's stories so far.
Yeah, we've got incredible authors who have come together in this book. It's really beautiful. So yes. Sonia, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Sonia Keller. I'm a social worker, a psychotherapist, a clinical supervisor to psychologists, counsellors, psychotherapists, social workers, and I'm a self-care coach to busy entrepreneurs. So in my clinical work, I work mainly in private practice, and I work with children, young people and adults who've experienced trauma, most specifically child sexual abuse. I also work with other presentations such as anxiety, depression, life transitions, grief and loss, but my main focus is trauma, and a huge proportion of my work is working with actually adults who have come forward to go, unpack some of their childhood stuff, and a lot of it is revolved around child sexual abuse and institutionalized care.
It's incredible work that you're doing and so necessary, but you talk about compassion fatigue in your chapter.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us what compassion fatigue is for people who haven't
tell you? Having lived and breathed it myself, first, I just want to start by saying I absolutely love the work that I do. I love the clientele that I work with, and I really feel honoured that people choose me to tell their stories to when it comes to trauma and child sexual abuse and some of the other mental health issues that comes through my clinic. But yes, compassion fatigue is a real thing, and it is similar to burnout, but compassion fatigue is a general term that we use in the helping profession, where you become tired And when you become tired and burnt out, it's much harder to maintain the same levels of empathy and compassion towards the clients that we're working with. And no one wants to see a therapist that says, you know what, tell someone who cares. Because that really defeats the purpose, and it's not a great place to be. However, so many of my colleagues, and myself included, have experienced, compassion fatigue. And so that's why I was just really interested to write that chapter and offer some of my experience and some of my skills in working with other clinicians that experience the same thing.
Yeah, and a big part of that is managing your energy. Can you talk to us about that?
So whilst a lot of our work is sedentary, sitting still for long periods of time, I see 8 clients a day. So that's a lot of clients. That's 8 hours of trauma work that I do. It does have an impact on you mentally. And when it impacts you mentally, it's going to impact you physically as well. So you can walk away from 8 hours of sitting in one spot feeling absolutely, utterly exhausted, and then be unable to sleep because your mind's going at a million miles an hour. So conserving energy, there's so many different ways that we can do that. And I think knowing what our own window of tolerance is in terms of how many clients that we can, work with in a day, and, not try and push that too hard. But sort of ease off and err more on the side of caution with how many clients that we see, so that we do have time to get up and move around, time to do other things, time to take care of ourselves. Just recently, this year has just been so incredibly busy for me, and this month in particular with book launch and everything, I've actually allocated time, and I've had to give myself permission to do this, allocated time in my day to actually go for a walk or to go to the gym or go to the pool, just so that I can keep my mental faculties working at optimum level and keep myself physically well, so that I don't go to burnout.
Yeah, that self-care is so important, and managing your energy by, exercise and things like that. You also talk about the boundaries that you have in place. As a way to, look after your self-care. Can you tell us a bit about that?
In the helping profession, we are notoriously bad at boundaries. We're seen as the do-gooders and the helpers, and, people don't understand why we don't work for free. I mentioned in my book, I get phone calls day and night, and yes, I'm one of those people that only has the one phone. So I have my little messages that I send back when it's not business hours, so that people know to call between business hours and to leave a message, et cetera, et cetera. But I remember one time someone calling me at like 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, and I accidentally picked up the phone, and it was someone wanting to tell me all about their trauma and book an appointment. And I was so surprised when I said, I'm sorry, I don't work on Sundays, but I'd really love to talk to you more. Perhaps you could call me back tomorrow between this hour and this hour. So having some boundaries around that, and really setting those boundaries and sticking to them, and not feeling bad about it. We don't have to save the world. We don't have to help every single person that walks through our door. And sometimes we have to be really clear around who our ideal client is. And if they're not our ideal client, refer on to somebody else that might be able to help them. And, not trying to take it all on. And we do, and we want to. And I'm also an ADHDer. And so I'm a very much a, yes, I can do that. And then I overdo everything and think, oh gosh, I've got no time for myself. So it's a lesson that I've had to learn over a long period of time to be able to take care of myself better.
Yeah, that's such great advice for all entrepreneurs. I think, our businesses run 24/7, but we can't. We have to have those boundaries in place. Yeah.
And that comes down to monetizing our business as well, which is another important point I brought up in my chapter. So many people in my industry are afraid to charge their worth. We accept referrals through Medicare and through victim services, and these are all great things to do because that's where there are a lot of people that need our help. But we can't run a business on very low pay. We can't make ends meet, and we exhaust ourselves. If we took on every patient and bulk billed them, we wouldn't last. and we wouldn't be able to pay our bills. It's just not possible. And so we have to be very clear. You know, we've been to uni, we've done our 4 or 5 year degrees, our masters, we've done our, you know, our clinical work, we've been in business, you know, working with people for 20 years. We can absolutely charge our worth and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other thing you spoke about in your chapter is meditation and the power of meditation.
Yes, something so close to my heart piece. I don't think I would be sitting here right now talking to you if I didn't have my meditation practices in place. And look, I'm a huge fan of the Vipassana style of meditation, which Dr. Reno Kayun uses in his MICBT program. And it's something that I use myself and that I teach my clients. And I also teach the busy entrepreneur people that I work with as well with their self-care. And I actually meditate twice a day, half an hour each time. And that might sound like a lot, but let me tell you, I can squeeze a lot more into my day if I'm coming from a place of calm and I'm grounded. If I'm not calm and grounded, I'm not able to offer my clientele the best of me, the best version of me. And I'm not going to be able to track through all my tasks throughout the day if I haven't done my meditation. And that's what I need to be able to stay focused, stay grounded, and to also, you know, keep my brain healthy. I work with a lot of highly traumatized people. I hear the worst of the worst of the worst trauma stories every single day, all day, every day. I said in the book, I knew another colleague clinician who died of a brain tumor, and I have to wonder how much of that is biological and how much of that is the high level of trauma that she's held in her body vicariously from working with clients with trauma on a day in, day out. So looking after our brains is really, really important, not just for us therapists, for everybody who has very busy lifestyles, and especially for business owners, because like you said, Peace, you know, we're on 24 hours a day pretty much, and we have to be able to manage that sensibly.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed your chapter, and everyone out there watching, I think you will enjoy reading Sonia's chapter as well. There's really wonderful advice in here for really managing your energy, looking after yourself, and being able to bring your best self to the work that you love and the work that you do. So, yeah, thank you so much, Sonia.
Thanks, Peace. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Well, I'd now like to welcome our next guest to join me, Leisha Major. Please join me on screen.
Hello, Peace. How are you?
I'm good, Leisha. It's lovely to see you. So, Leisha, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
I'm a change maker and the co-founder of the POP team. I'm a mother to a wonderful 14-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. I have more than 24 years of IT experience. I did 2 degrees in information systems, a bachelor, and then I had to do my master's in information systems. I always knew from a very early on that I wanted to do IT. I really wanted to bridge that gap between IT and business and make sure both parties get the most out of them. I'm enthusiastic about making a positive difference in how customers operate their business. I run the POP team out of Sydney with my husband, Peter. And as a business, we pride ourselves on family values, innovation, and connection. So we started the POP team 15 years ago, and we work with growing to medium-sized businesses as their IT. So we're always constantly challenging that status quo in how businesses run, and we become an extension of our customers' business. So we make sure that we do all your IT, so then it doesn't have to be the headache inside there. So when I was writing my chapter, it really made me think about everybody's IT and how do we sort of summarize it and sort of make sure that their IT then can, anybody who's going into business, know these are the sort of 9 areas that you look into with IT and making sure you get the most out of it.
Yeah, I loved your chapter. I loved that you broke it down into those manageable chunks to really, for people who don't have that IT background, to get a really good overview of what they need to be thinking about, and then the step-by-step of like, first let's look at this, and then this, and then this. But the title of your chapter is, It Shouldn't Be Overwhelming. Can you tell us what that means?
Well, it's funny. Originally, because it was all in capitals, it should have been IT shouldn't be overwhelming. And because it shouldn't be overwhelming, it's such a beautiful play on it. Overwhelm is really that funny emotion. It can put you positively or negatively. I know with me, when I get overwhelmed, the thoughts just go over my head and I just want to control everything. And then I get really like nothing happens and nothing moves forward. And then I just put my head in the sand and I just go, nah, I can't do it. And when I talk with a lot of people and I say, well, I'm in IT and I have an IT business, they go, oh, I just can't do it. It's somebody else's one. So I really wanted to make sure people understood how technology impacts your business. Like, we don't need to know all the details. Like, we don't need to know. There are other people that are out there that can help you and make IT and technology so much more better and make you doing your best work. So then you're not worrying about it in there. So yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do get overwhelmed with their IT and thinking that they have to try and do it all themselves. But there's people like you who can help them.
Absolutely. And in the chapter, what I wanted to do was leave people with an action plan and really think about those 3 questions of how important is this area in your business? How happy are you with it? So it might be important, but are you happy? So then that's that real pulling on that emotional feeling of it inside there. And then outlining your wish and obstacle of like, I want my software for inside there to be really safe and productive and getting me new leads. Well, what's the obstacle? Well, I don't know which CRM system to use or customer relationship management system. So it's really thinking about breaking it down and saying it out loud. Like, if you don't have to say the exact words of it, but it's more saying, that there is something better, and then going out there and asking for help, then you can articulate it. And then the people who know in IT can help you and just take that worry and that overwhelm off you.
Yeah, you make it sound so clear when you describe it like that. But yeah, the IT is here to help us. It's not something to be afraid of and to be overwhelmed by. It's a tool. It's like any other tool that you have in your business that can help you do the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. And so the 9 different areas, I really broke it down into that simple language, and then I gave you questions to think about. I'm a strong believer in planting lots of seeds. Some of those seeds don't have to germinate now, and then you can come back to it. So really thinking about each of those areas and then going through and listening to the questions and not what am I trying to say? Being planting those seeds and being really thinking about it, and then being able to come back either now if it's really, really important, or putting it on hold, and then when the time is right, then actioning that area inside your IT.
And I think for people who work with you, having someone like you to be asking those kind of questions and guiding them through that conversation really helps support their clarity around what they actually want. Because if you don't know about it, you're kind of just stuck and you don't even know what the questions are that you should be thinking about or asking. So yeah, I love that you have that framework as a big part of what you do.
Absolutely. So when you think about, so it's funny when we have our different customers, it normally falls into these different 9 areas. They either start with something with their hardware. They might be still on old servers and they need to go to the cloud. And then we help them through that. But they don't need to know all of the technical, this server and that server and stuff like that. They just know that it's slow. It's making all of their employees be really frustrated, and then they're coming to them. They can't then work. So it just all of this noise that once it's solved and had been on your forever list, makes it so much more easier to work with, and then easy and not so much overwhelming inside there.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Leisha. Your chapter in here is wonderful for anybody who is starting out, in particular with, you know, all the tech that they need to be across. That step-by-step framework that you've outlined in your chapter is just excellent. Thank you so much for being here today, and I look forward to celebrating you in person at our book launch later this week.
Absolutely, me too. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Leisha. Well, I'd like to now bring our next guest on stage, and that is Fee Mims. Please join me, Fee.
Hey, Peace. Thanks for having me today. Very exciting to be here.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here, Fee. Now, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Yeah, sure. So I am a personal branding photographer, and I specialise in working with women in business, so mostly small business owners or solopreneurs. And I really, at the crux of what I do is I help them show up and increase their visibility and build their brands. And as I said, I do that through photography, but I also host a membership for women in business to help them build a powerful brand, because photos are just one part of it. And I run some education courses and workshops as well. And I love what I do.
It's wonderful.
I would get out of bed for it any day.
Yeah, you're so good at it as well. I love your photography. But your chapter is stepping into the spotlight. Can you tell us a bit about your chapter?
Yeah, sure. So working with majority women in business, one of the things I come across a lot, and it's something that I experienced with my own story, is lacking the confidence to step into the spotlight, is how I've coined it, but to increase your visibility, to show up in business, which, you know, it might be getting on video or just posting your photos to your social media feed, or putting your hand up for a podcast interview or a speaking gig. Even just, even Sonia talked about charging what you're worth. Just anything in business, women lack a lot of confidence. And we also get stuck in the business of our business, and we are working so hard for our clients because we're so passionate about what we do. We often don't leave time to show up in our own business, build our own businesses. And that was one of the things that I experienced. And I found that when I changed that in my own business, everything changed for me, and that really drove me to step out from behind the camera and also add to my business, working with women to build their brands and help them build that confidence and visibility in their business as a whole, not just through getting some photos for their brand.
Yeah, there's so much more to it than just getting a few photos, isn't there? It's about
so much more. Yeah.
It's about growing up and, you know, doing a thing. And in fact, one of the tips that you talk about is the importance of showing up consistently. Can you tell us about why it's so important?
Oh, I'd love to. So yeah, let's talk about it in terms of photography. Let's say I have a client who comes to me and gets a beautiful gallery of images. I have those clients that, you know, they've got those great images, but they don't necessarily use them, or they might post one or put it on the website, or, you know, do an intro on their social media feed, but then they sort of let them sit on their hard drive. And I think that's because we don't like to have the spotlight on us. We like to have the spotlight on our work and the people we work with. But in business these days, we have to show up as well. So showing up is really important, but it's crucial to show up consistently, because, you know, we live in this digital age where we are saturated with information and visuals and content online. So it's okay to show up, but if you're not showing up consistently, people will forget about us and they will move on to the next thing. Attention spans are extremely short. So as a personal brand, the more we can show up and the more consistently we can show up, the more opportunity we have for people to come into contact with us and to learn about who we are and what we do, but also to remember us, so that it's kind of about taking people along the journey with us in our business, so that when they are ready to work with us, they're going to go, oh, of course, I'll work with Fee because she keeps popping up in my feed and I follow her and I love what she does. Whereas if I wasn't showing up in my business, they might have moved on to something or someone else. It's all about
Yeah.
marketing, really, at the end of the day, but in a really authentic way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of women do try and hide behind their logo or behind their products, and there is
It's our
that
safe
fear.
space.
Yeah, there's a fear around putting themselves out there, but that's so important. And
Yeah.
another thing you spoke about in your chapter is negative Nancy, and I know that that's something that's holding so many women back from putting themselves out there and promoting themselves effectively. Can you tell us about negative Nancy and how you manage this?
Yeah, sure. So there's two negative Nancys out there. There's the naysayers, or the people in our community that maybe don't build us up, so they're not supporting us and they discourage us, particularly in those early startup phases. I know that there are women who don't necessarily get the support they need, and people treat their business like it's a hobby, which makes it difficult for women to stand up and be confident and put themselves out there. So there's that one where we have to surround ourselves with supportive women. And I think we are in a really big movement of supportive women in this time, which I absolutely love. So I think that will only get bigger and stronger, but it's important to surround yourselves with those women that will lift you up and encourage you. And the other negative Nancy is the one in our heads. And I think this is the one that probably does the most damage. And everything I write about in my chapter piece, I went through myself, and I still go through. Like, we all still have the inner mean girl, or whether you want to call it imposter syndrome or inner critic, we all have that popping up in our business all the time. And it is something that really we only can overcome with a lot of hard work on our own mindset and confidence. And that's just what I did for years and years until I learn. It's basically about having a toolkit to deal with those things, that voice when it pops up in your head, so that it's not getting rid of it, but it's like, I know it's going to pop up every now and then, because every time I try and do something a bit scary in my business, it's going to pop up to say, hang on, I'm going to protect you here, you shouldn't do that. So it's about having that toolkit to recognize when it pops up and not let it stop you from doing things that are going to make you grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Fee. I really enjoyed reading your chapter, and I hope that everybody grabs a copy and enjoys your chapter as well, and also has the courage to start showing up and overcoming that fear that's holding them back, because it's so important that we show up for it.
So important. And Peace, I just want to say thanks for giving us all this opportunity and listening to the other authors as well. Themes are coming through every interview that really help women across the board in business. So that's what I love about it, the diversity and how all those individual stories can help us all. So thank you for letting us do it.
Oh, thank you. It's an incredible book, and I'm really enjoying reading it. There's so much wisdom and different stories and advice. It's so good.
Thanks so much.
Fee. Well, I'd now like to welcome our final guest today, Beatrice, to join me on stage.
Hello. Hi, Pete. How are you?
I'm really good. It's lovely to see you.
Then you.
So, Beatrice, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Yep. So I am a mum of three young ones, 7, 5, and 1. This business, I am the founder of Hey Doodle. We specialize in erasable silicone activity mats. Quite different to everyone who's spoken today. We provide a product. And this product came about when my youngest was at the time 3, 4. And we were going out to restaurants, and she was a creative person right from young. And so we would often have paper with us. But one particular day we ran out of paper, and it was a mess. And so that led me to, to think if there were other options out there, which, brought us to today. We now have about 30 to 40 different designs in these mats. Coming from an architectural background as well, I was able to put together a really strong brand. Everything we do focuses on 3 things: educational, creative, and reusability. And so it comes right down even to the packaging. we've designed all of our packaging so that they are reusable. You purchase them in their packaging, and when you take them out to restaurants, you pop them back in there and you can take it anywhere. And so it's such a beautiful product because it teaches the children that things are not used once. My children know now that, we use it, we erase it, we keep it, and then we reuse it. So yeah, that's Hey Doodle in a nutshell, really.
Yeah, I love your products, and I've used it with my
Thank you.
daughter as well. We
Yeah, thank you.
love that you can put it back into the package as well and reuse it again and again. So great.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so your chapter was titled All Aboard, and I just absolutely loved the way that you used the metaphor that you did to tell your story. So could you share with our audience a bit about why you use this metaphor and what it means to
Yeah.
you?
Well, when I sat down and put my fingers to the keyboard, it's like, let's get this chapter going. I'm like, I had no idea what to share. Look, I do not consider myself a business expert by any means. Our business is 3 years old. And I was in an architectural role before this, so not business centric at all. So to be writing a chapter in a business book, I was completely at loss and came to terms with the fact that the only wisdom I have to share is our journey thus far. So my chapter is very much about where we began, even, the me before we began Hey Doodle, and how we arrived at today. The chapter was titled All Aboard because I was known to spring up business ideas every so often. But it would stay as ideas. It never really goes past that. And then, some months later, I would see it in the market. I'm like, oh, far out. So this time though, this was a business idea that I jumped on, and I've used the metaphor of a train because it has been like I've been riding a train, and the train has just been going where it's meant to go. And so the metaphor goes through, train stations that we should not be stopping at, which is a lot to do with opportunities that may seem like opportunities at the time. But perhaps not all of them are worth stopping for at this point in time. So, it goes through filling your carriages with the right people, which talks about my community, and it talks about the people that have supported me all along. And yeah, I mean, so I've used the train metaphor, and even while through writing it, it has guided the way I have written my story.
Yeah, I really loved it. It was such a great way to tell your story. There's a part in it that's, you say, there's more than one way to arrive at a destination. And I love that so much. Can you tell us a bit about that part of your chapter?
So I share that story because, growing up, we, in the Asian culture especially, we sort of have our futures set out for us. Our parents have big dreams of, you go out to study, you become a lawyer, you become a doctor, that sort of thing. And, growing up, I share that I was very interested in gynecology for a very long part of my life, but came the time when the grades did not meet the requirements to get into medical school, and I was like, ooh, what do I do now? And that was when my father suggested, why don't you try architecture? Because he has seen the creative side of me growing up. It's just something I have never seen before. And so I did architecture. And getting to architecture was difficult because I was going from a science background that was really straight into architecture that was really philosophical, and it was not a language that I was comfortable with. And so that was a long journey of learning new skills, new languages, new ways to do things. And then to suddenly be made redundant during COVID, and then starting Hey Doodle, it was a completely, different pathway altogether again. But then as I'm going through Hey Doodle, I'm realizing that, hey, everything I'm using here, all the skills I've been using here, was picked up in the previous, session, like the previous parts of my phases of my life. And so everything I learned in architecture, I was able to repurpose into growing Hey Doodle. So, when I was writing the chapter, I realized that, perhaps this was meant to be the path. It doesn't seem like I was set up for business all along, but, I've gone through a journey to get to where I am today. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that so much. And, you know, it was quite a journey for you through architecture and then getting to where you are today, and your business is so incredibly successful. So it's, you know, you have ended up at the right destination. I'm sure of that.
So, well, who knows where this heads, right? I mean, and that's the exciting part about it. You know, it's just an ongoing train. And the reminder to myself as I was writing it is that as long as you're all aboard, as long as you do it, commit to it and do it, you will end up where you're meant to be eventually.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Before we wrap up, though, I'd love to talk about self-care. You know, you do have 3 young children. You've got this incredible business which has had such high growth. In your chapter, you talk about self-care. Can you tell us why you believe self-care is so important, and also what self-care looks like for you?
It's funny you should bring that up. I mean, I don't think that's not a part of my life. I'm doing very well. And listening to the ladies before me, I'm like, oh gosh, I got to speak to that lady after. I got to speak to that lady after. But no, look, with young children, my time is really not my own. It's not great, but I have resorted to having to work late into the nights. And so it's been an ongoing journey of trying to cut that stop time earlier. So self-care for me is really boundaries. You know, I used to I started my business in bed, and now I've tried to not work in bed. So no phones in bed, no laptops in bed, which was where I was doing a lot of my work before this. And it's really small steps like this. As someone was saying before me, carving out time for exercise, for walks. That's something we've been trying to do. It's not really a daily thing at this point. It's, look at the schedule. When can we fit it in? Let's do it then. So, taking holidays is a key one for me. It's not so much that I'm disciplined enough to do it, but more so when my children are around, I simply cannot work. And so, from even daily, when my kids are home from 3 to 8 p.m., that's a no work zone because I simply cannot manage it. And I've decided that if I focus my time on my children solely when they're around, it just makes a happier place at home. And then I will do my work when I've got my own quiet time. So look, I mean, self-care is I'm not there yet, but I have recognized that it is important to keep going.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Beatrice, and thank you for your chapter. I urge everybody to grab themselves a copy and read Beatrice's chapter. There's lots of wisdom and beautiful advice in there. Thanks so much. Well, thank you, everybody. That comes to the end of today's festival, and I'd like to thank all of our authors who have joined us here today, and to everybody watching on the live stream as well, and everyone watching the recording. Ignite is available for purchase. We're also holding a book launch in Sydney and in Melbourne this week. The details are in the comments to the side. And make sure you grab a copy of Ignite and support our incredible authors. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Bye now.